Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to our HR Huddle. Happy August, August 2nd. We are counting down this summer here in Minnesota for sure. And we have a special guest with us today. So I have my partner, Jen, who is often with me. So hi, Jen. And then Roz Allison is the managing partner of Mahoney CPAs and Advisors up here in my neck of the woods in the Twin Cities. And so we are so happy to have you here, Roz, today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we are going to talk about remote and blended culture. And one of the things, as we've been talking on HR huddles and in our writing and in our coaching with, leaders and managing partners and HR professionals, one of the objections we continue to hear, maybe worries, maybe it's not as strong as objections, but worry is how do we create and build this culture in this blended environment? It used to be in a remote environment with remote employees. And I think now we have this blended environment that is here to stay. And Roz, I know you guys have been working on this, for the past, year and a half for sure with the pandemic. You were doing some meeting and speculating and had a committee forum before that, but you just won, you've won many awards, but you also just won recently, again, top places to work. So congratulations to that. And I think part of it is this culture idea. So we thought you would come and share, some of the things that you've been doing and maybe your leadership and from an HR perspective to really build and preserve that culture. So maybe we should start with, what is the culture of Mahoney? What are you trying to, preserve? Or, what do you guys say that is so great about your culture when you talk about, we want to maintain this culture in this blended environment? What are those attributes or elements?
Sure. Relationships are really key to us, both internally with our team as well as externally with our clients and in our community. And so it's really about open communication and transparency and just being, almost feeling like a family. I think a lot of people, they work with people in the office, but they also get out and do things outside of the office and just have relationships that extend outside of our office space. And so it's just really a key thing to have people you work with who are also your friends. And I think that's a culture that we have here that keeps it. Public accounting can be stressful and crazy, and if you're coming to work and enjoying who you work with every day, it really makes a big difference. So.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that one of the things that, words that I use, and Roz, I've heard you use before too, is intentional.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be intentional about those relationships and that family feeling and that, we like maybe or enjoy the people we work with. We respect them. We trust them. We have fun with them. We don't just work. It's not like I use the word transactional, like we can get stuck in a transactional relationship and, there's benefit to that. But gosh, what's really rewarding is when we, have those, deep relationships. Mm-hmm. So I think part of how you've been coming to that is a lot of different focus groups, asking people, finding out where people are in this conversation. And Gina just posted, yes, we like being home now, and people have different preferences. Tell us about how you've been navigating that and learning that, this past year and a half.
Well, we want to listen to what our team members are thinking, what they're feeling, where they're at with COVID. And even now it's kind of past COVID. People are used to working at home and, working at home isn't necessarily just about COVID anymore. It's about other things. And so in the past, we've done surveys, a couple of them, to see where people are at and what their intentions are. We've also got another pulse survey coming up here in the next week or so to get, again, see where people are at and assess that and make some decisions based on people's comfort and preferences and that kind of thing. And so, it's about listening to people and knowing what they need and what they want and making things that work for those people and then finding ways to all of it's about listening to people and knowing what they need. Are you getting that feedback?
Yes, it's like coming back at us.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a new thing that we've had. Let's see if it stops. Yeah, there we go. Okay, try that again.
Okay. So, it's like I said, it's listening, it's understanding, it's working together, and then figuring out how to incorporate people who are working at home, people who are working in the office, and bringing it all together and going forward with it that way. So we've also had our next gen committee looking at ways that we can bring people together in different ways that they're comfortable with. And they did a survey recently as well to set up some interest groups. And they start out with a big long list of what are, there's 10 or 15 interest groups here. What are you most interested in? And now we've brought it down to about 5. And so people were, I think the top 5 were like a pickleball group and a cornhole group, a wine tasting group, a lunch group, just some different things that people then in those groups can decide how do we want to get together, what works for us to just try to build those relationships again and keep that culture going. So
I love all this, Roz, and I think I love the idea that you're so committed to the relationship. We would call that sort of the deal breaker, right? So like, we're good with remote, we're good with in person, we're good with blended, as long as relationships are still there. That's and when you have that as the centerpiece, then it informs all these other strategies, like your surveying. How can I be in great relationships if I don't find out what other people want and need and listen to them, right? That's the basis of a relationship. This special interest piece, a lot of firms wonder, how do we keep the fun? How do we keep the social pieces going in a blended environment? And I'd be super interested in like the cornhole group, how they're, like, how will I play that if I'm over in an Iowa remote employee? And I I don't know how we would do that, but we would say, well, is there an online game? That's the first thing. But if there's not an online game, then maybe you guys are gathering and somebody is throwing mine. You know what I mean? I don't know. We did a escape room as a team. And when we first heard about the escape room idea, remote, because we're completely remote, right? So none of us was together. And we thought, wow, how do you do that? But they had a camera on their head and they ran around the room. We told them where to go and look, and they, pulled stuff up and clues came to the screen. And so you can be very creative with the fun, these special interests. You don't all have to be in person necessarily to enjoy those special interests together. So I love that you're doing that.
And I think the fun piece is very important too, as well as just keeping people informed about what we're doing as a firm. And so we've started doing monthly firm meetings on Teams, and then also having our coaches meeting with their coachees weekly. We never did that before, but just checking in. And sometimes it's just a conversation about, what did you do this weekend? It's nothing that serious, but at least you're keeping up with people. And so, just having that contact is so important, to be in touch with people and knowing what's going on. And so we're just trying to find ways to do that.
Yeah, Tamara used the word intentional a few minutes ago. And I just wanted to say that, like, COVID in so many ways has been terrible, but in so many ways it has also been a blessing. And one of the blessings was that weekly check-in you're talking about. People felt like they needed to do a weekly check-in, however they manifested that, and many firms kept it. It was like an emergency triage when it started, but then people were like, wow, when I check in with my coachees, I find out stuff about them.
Right.
I find out that they might need something, and I'm able to supply it, whether they're in the office or in person. It doesn't matter. Checking in with my people is good, so. And I know that's sort of silly the way I'm saying it, but, we weren't checking in with our people enough. That's for sure. And so this has helped. And I love that you all are continuing that. That's great.
Well, and I want to continue the relationship idea, because I think one of the things that you guys really focused on last year, Roz, was how do we work together? What can I count on from you, and what can you count on from me? Can you talk about like how that's emerged, and how is that going now? Maybe, a summer later, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we are still, just really trying to get that people talking and knowing, what is it that we need to do this week? What's on your list? And, how can we get that done? Do you have too much? Do you have not enough? And spreading the work around and just, knowing where people are at. We don't want some people doing nothing and some people way too busy, and everybody's frustrated then. Both sides of that are frustrated. And so and again, it's just that communication piece that you're understanding where people are at and what's working, what isn't, and what do we need to do to move things around or accommodate, or those kinds of things. And it's just really important to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, and also I think like responsiveness and, where can I find you? And I think both ways, I think, sometimes we hear people, that are in the office or partners that never left the office. It's like, wait a minute, I'm the one that's made to feel bad here. We talk about we overemphasize maybe the remote person or the blended environment that we want to work in. But we just have to say, how do you want to work, and what can we expect from each other on our engagements, on our team, as a firm, are the things that we can count on. And that, just that responsiveness and accessibility. We were talking before we went live here that you use Teams. It's your phone system now, it's your communication. I know how to access you. And it's just really powerful to get agreement on how we use, tools and technology and calendars. Jen spoke last week at the AICPA Engage conference and asked how many people really use their calendars. Like we could go look at it and it's published and we know where you are, when you're available, when you're not, whether it's a private appointment or not. Just those communication tools are super important as well. So, and it's a work in progress. I hear you saying that.
Yeah, and I think people have tried to be better, more diligent about putting on their calendars. And if it's a private appointment, that's fine. Just put private and we just know you're not available at that time, but at least it's on your calendar and we know that and know when we can get a hold of you. Or if there's an emergency, I know I can call your cell phone, but only if it's an emergency. And so you have those guidelines and barriers kind of to know how to communicate and get in touch with people. It's very important.
Yeah.
I love that. I was going to say about that. One of the questions I was asked, and it was at the end of the session at Engage, and so this is just something for us to bat around. I don't know that there's a perfect answer, but the idea of this, set core hours. The gentleman came up to me afterwards and he said, "We're battling in my office about core hours." And he said, I think one of the people wants to set core hours at 9 to 4. And I was like, I think those are office hours, like, or 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever. Did you guys do anything with core hours?
We have really gone to, just let us know what your schedule is and we can work around, whatever your kids' programs or things that you have going on, appointments, that kind of thing. But keep your calendar up to date. That's key, so people know when you're accessible and available. And yeah, we've got people that work all different kinds of hours, and it really is about what works in their lives, and of course what we need to do to serve our clients. That certainly is a piece of it as well, and just working through those kinds of things. But the transparency again is huge in that, and just knowing what the expectations are and what the availability is, and then you work around it. So we don't really have core hours. People that come in the office are usually here, kind of 9 to 4 is kind of just when you're in the office, right? That's kind of how people do it. One end or the other can certainly vary, but we don't have an established core hours. It's more anytime, anywhere work, a little bit flexibility, that kind of thing. So.
Well, we love anytime, anywhere work, and we're against core hours because what happens is either they turn out to be the office hours, which is silly, or if they're not the office hours, then they're like 10 to 2 or something. And while you're trying to set meetings during core hours, people are eating lunch. You know what I mean? You're like, this is so goofy. Why are we doing this? So I love that it's transparency and accessibility. That's That's wonderful. What about tips, Roz? What do like if you had advice for managing partners out there first, other managing partners who are like, man, we got to get to anywhere, anytime. We've got to stop having this attachment to physical presence. What advice would you give? What tips or like must-haves would you say to other managing partners to help transition the culture to really embracing hybrid or blended?
Well, I think the transparency piece is huge. I think if you're thinking about doing that, you need to communicate with that and put out surveys and see where people are at with the different ideas that you are thinking about implementing, and seeing how that could work as far as the anytime, anywhere work, flexibility type things, and working together. We've got our next gen group we like to go to and bounce ideas off of them or other people in the firm, and just see how things would be perceived and happen if we make changes. We actually did change and we called it a hoteling pilot during busy season, where we thought, well, we don't have the ability to have kind of COVID rules and have everybody in the office. And we thought people during busy season would want to be in the office a little more often, just because they didn't want to work the extra hours outside, at their houses all the time. So we started this hoteling project or pilot, and surveyed people, asked, what's your intention after COVID? More was the thought, after COVID, do you see yourself working in the office 2 days a week, 4 days a week? And then, we picked a group to say, well, if you're planning to be here 2 days or less, then let's put you in this hoteling project and try it out and see how it works. And so, just trying things and just saying, this is going to evolve over time, and it's not going to be perfect. When we first started out, we'll all learn, and just making it so that everybody knows what's going on and feels like they're a part of it. And so you've got the transparency, you've got good communication, and listening to, okay, well, this didn't work very well. Let's pivot a little bit and try this instead. Or, well, if people aren't leaving the office the way they got it when they got there to hotel, then there's issues there. Let's deal with that. So just kind of working through and just knowing that you're going to implement something, and it's going to evolve over time and get better. It's not going to be perfect. I always say, if you wait till it's perfect, we'll never do anything.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I'll say.
We love that. I love the humility and the collaboration that comes along with that, Roz. It's like we just have permission to try things, and we have to take some action. And so it's not going to be perfect, and it's okay not to. And that creates an innovative culture, by the way. So, then it's safe for other people to come up with ideas and try things and it not go well. And it's okay. It's not like, a career limiting move because it didn't go well, or we're going to hold that against you forever. I love that. And, we love the word pilot. So, just trying things, huge. You've also applied this idea to like serving clients and training and onboarding and recruiting. And, we're doing that in a remote and blended environment. Anything to say, about any insights you've learned for, maybe other areas other than just like staffing and how the team works?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the going from working at the client to totally remote auditing was a big step, as many accounting firms, probably all accounting firms, felt. And so that was a process. But I feel like what it came down to was the work we could do. It was the relationship piece that we still are working on. How do we keep that as strong with the remote environment? And so, just kind of, if clients now, as we move back out of COVID, want to have us in the office more, some do, some don't, some just say, we kind of liked it when you weren't in our office, so let's keep doing that. And that's fine, especially if they're, very responsive. That makes it a lot easier. But otherwise, there's still some give and take in figuring that piece out. But I think where we're still working on is the relationship piece. How do we keep our relationships with our clients strong if we're not out there in front of them? And so trying to do some things, go to a Saints baseball game with them, or do some different things like that, or doing some remote virtual trivia or, just different things. You just have to be creative and see what could work with your clients and try and keep those relationships strong. Still, you just call them or, just different things like that. So it's trickier. It takes some creativity, but we are trying to do that. And I think still have to work on it, but are working at that.
I love it. I love it. And I love that, it can be blended with clients. We would never say, all remote or all in person. We've been a completely remote business, but we do a lot of our client service in person.
Sure.
And man, I wouldn't trade it. We did trade it for 15 months during COVID, and it was sad. We were glad to get back out in person safely. But I think that idea, Roz, of trying different things and really checking in with the client on their preferences, and then again innovating and creating. And I was thinking while you were talking, how many of our clients would love it if we said, "Hey, this Friday at 3:00, we're going to play this game. Would you like to come play with us?" Remotely. How many would say yes to that? I mean, it just. It would be a lot of them, and I don't know why we're not doing that, Tamara.
I just got that as you were saying.
I'm just like, wait a minute, we need to do more of that because that's the super fun stuff, and so I love it. I love what you just shared there. And I put into the chat, it was me under Convergence Coaching there that said we could invite Roz back just to talk about the client service piece, and business development and that sort of stuff. Not that you're, we're not trying to put you on the spot as an expert, because that's such an evolving thing for all of us, but just to brainstorm and talk about it because it's mammoth. The how to manage it with the talent is a big piece, and then how to manage it with the clients, prospects, referral sources, and all the people outside. Just a lot, but
it's similar
we
theme.
can all get there.
Well, it's similar theme too. I have to ask and I have to listen, and it's one size fits one for the clients and the team. So there's a theme here.
Yeah. And we've gone to kind of what you said, Jen, to a hybrid approach with some clients where we say, okay, send us all this information. We'll do as much of it as we can in the office, and then we'll come out for a day and really be efficient because we'll have all our questions and everything figured out. And so we've done that too with clients. And it is, you're right, Tamara, it's one size fits one. You figure out what works for them and make it all happen.
Yeah. And as long as everybody feels like they can input back, like the client can say, wow, this year, Roz, we really love this, but we really wish this would be a little different. As long as everybody feels like they get to input to it, then I don't think anybody can lose.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I think we're about at time. I know we could continue on with this. So we really appreciate you coming and just sharing your journey and your insights. And thank you for being here. And we will share this. And, maybe if we come up with some additional follow-up, we'll reach back out to you. But thank you for coming. And thank you, Jen. We will be back on live again next Monday at the HR Huddle. So in the meantime, have a great week. Have a good first week of August. And we'll talk to you all soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Roz.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.